thank you for that assurance, and thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Worker. Senator King, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before beginning my questions, I can't help but comment on the futility of this hearing, since we know that General George will not be confirmed in any time in the foreseeable future, not because of his qualifications or his experience or his vast knowledge that he would bring to the job, but because of a hold that's been held on all general officers. General George, you've committed to giving us your best professional advice. Do you believe that this blanket hold on the promotion of general officers, which has left us, for example, without a commandant of the Marine Corps in the first time in over 100 years, is undermining national security?
Senator, it is, yes, it is impacting our readiness. For us, it's important as we move leaders to get the right leader in the right place at the right time, and especially with the right experience. And so that's what we're challenged with right now with the hold.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I have to take a point of personal privilege here, if I might, and I'll be brief. I'm mindful of the senator from Maine's point of view, but as a matter of fact, a nominee for Chief of Staff of the Army can be brought to the floor in the usual manner, despite a hold, by the majority leader, taken up for a vote, cloture voted, and the confirmation proceed. Is that not correct, Mr. Chairman?
That is correct, but that does not account for the 250 and 60 general officers.
Indeed, it's a general statement that applies to the others. But with regard to this nominee and the one yesterday, they'll be taken up in the normal course when the majority leader decides to bring them to the floor, and I think that will happen expeditiously. Thank you, sir.
Well, my response would be that national security is being compromised by all 250 of those nominees that are being held up, not just by one or two. I'd like to proceed with my questions, if I could, Mr. Chairman.
Continue.
General, you have two hats, if when confirmed. One is best military advice to the President of the United States. The other is Chief of Staff of the Army. One of the hardest things to do is saying something that's difficult to the boss. Are you willing to give the President of the United States advice that he or she doesn't want to hear?
And it's, we still haven't solved the problem.
Yes, I am, Senator. I think I've had to give advice to my boss as I've, advanced in my career. I've had to do that.
And I hope that that's something that you will remember as you undertake this position, because it's if you look back through history, even recent history, over the last 20 or 30 years, telling the boss what they wanted to hear got us into some real serious trouble. So I hope you'll remember this moment and take that responsibility very, very seriously. You mentioned the nature of war, and the quote you used was rapidly changing strategic environment. Could you expand on that a bit and tell me what you mean by that and how you believe we have to evolve to meet those new challenges?
Senator, I'll use what in the unmanned systems as an example and loitering munitions and what we've seen, because I think there's been a lot of that's been out there in the open source press, but just how quickly things are, you can take something off the shelf, for example, and weaponize it or add different components to it. There's 3D printing that can go to that and can rapidly change. And so what that's caused also for us is that you have to think about how do you defend yourself against that. So I think we have to look at it both on the offensive and on the defensive side. I think what we've seen with as well with software and just how quickly you can change and advance capabilities that is happening, and you can really look at that across all the other warfighting functions as well. Cyber.
Speed is one of the things you're focusing on. I'm delighted to hear you talk about 3D printing, because we can't afford to be, as you say, sending something back to the depot. In my view, every barracks, every hangar, every ship should have a 3D printer, and we should be buying the intellectual property when we buy a platform. Do you agree?
Yes, Senator, I agree.
Very quickly, in some time that I have left, lessons from Ukraine. What have we learned about what's going on in Ukraine and how that war has proceeded in terms of tactics, strategy, weaponry? Some quick thoughts on lessons from Ukraine.
I'll try to give a couple in addition to what I talked about before, because I could go on. We're studying this, we're learning a lot from this. Just what's going on right now, I think we're learning how difficult offensive operations are and what you have to, piece together to do. I think it's the same for, didn't cover a lot earlier on integrated air and missile defense. But it gets to the counter-UAS piece that I brought up before, that you were going to have systems that are able to, knock down, and you got to see all of that, but then you got to be able to knock down small, class 1, 2, 3 unmanned systems all the way up to cruise missiles. And I think that that's a real challenge that we're learning over there. And I think Ukraine's doing a great job. The basic thing that I think we've learned from the beginning is it's critical to have the will to fight, and that is exactly what the Ukrainians have been showing us over there.
Thank you. Thank you very much, General.